There is a man working 60 hours a week. He has been doing it for 20 years. He pays his bills on time. He shows up every single day, and he never complains. And yet, at the end of every month, there is nothing left. The money is always gone. He has done everything society told him to do, followed every rule, played the game perfectly, and the game has played him right back into the same exact spot where he started. Most people watching this video right now are living that man's life. Now here is the part that makes this uncomfortable. It is not because he is lazy. It is not because he lacks talent or intelligence. It is not because the economy is rigged against him, although many would argue that it is. The real reason money continues to avoid this man, and the reason it avoids most people on this planet, has absolutely nothing to do with what he is doing. It has everything to do with what he is thinking. Bob Proctor spent over 50 years studying the human mind. He read Napoleon Hill. He studied Wallace Watt. He sat in rooms with the wealthiest and most successful people alive. And he asked them one question over and over again. What do you know that I do not know? And the answer was never about strategy. It was never about timing or luck or connections. It was about an invisible barrier that lives inside the mind. That barrier has a name. It is called a paradigm, and it is the single most powerful force controlling your financial life right now. You cannot see it. You cannot touch it, but it is shaping every financial decision you make, every belief you hold, and every result you are currently experiencing. In the next few minutes, we are going to tear that barrier down, layer by layer. If you have ever wondered why money seems to flow effortlessly to some people and completely avoids others, this is the video that will answer that question. Stay with us. Let us start with a question that almost nobody is willing to ask out loud. Why do some people attract wealth into their lives as if it were the most natural thing in the world, while others spend their entire existence chasing it and never seem to close the gap? This is not a question about talent. This is not a question about education or social status or the circumstances you were born into. This is a question about the architecture of your own mind, and how that architecture either welcomes money or silently repels it. Bob Proctor was not always a wealthy man. He did not grow up in privilege. He did not inherit a fortune. He started from a place of deep financial struggle, and for years he could not understand why his situation refused to change no matter how hard he worked. It was not until he picked up a single book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, that everything in his life began to shift. That book did not teach him a new skill or a new strategy. It revealed something about the way he was thinking, and that revelation changed the trajectory of his entire existence. What Bob discovered over the decades that followed was not a secret available only to a few. It is a universal law, a principle that operates with the same precision and consistency as gravity. It does not care about your age, your background, or your current bank balance. It simply responds to what is happening inside your mind. And most people have absolutely no awareness of the programming that is running in the background of their consciousness every single second of every single day. That programming was installed when you were a child. It was installed by your parents, your teachers, your environment, and the culture around you. Much of it was installed before you were even old enough to question it. And here is the critical piece. The programming does not disappear when you grow up. It simply becomes invisible. It becomes the lens through which you see the world. And because it feels so natural, you never think to challenge it. This video is about making that invisible programming visible. It is about understanding exactly why money avoids most people. And more importantly, it is about showing you the precise steps required to rewrite the code that is keeping you stuck. This is not theory for the sake of theory. This is not motivational fluff, designed to make you feel good for 10 minutes and then forget everything by tomorrow morning. What you are about to learn is a framework, a real, actionable framework that Bob Proctor used to transform his own life and the lives of millions of people around the world. If you are ready to understand the real reason money avoids you, let us begin. The very first thing we need to dismantle is one of the most deeply held beliefs in modern society. The belief that hard work is the direct path to financial success. This belief is so embedded in our culture that questioning it feels almost rebellious. We are taught from the moment we enter school that if we work hard enough, long enough, and smart enough, money will follow. It is presented as a law of nature. Work hard, get rewarded. Simple. But look around you. Look at the people you know who work incredibly hard. Look at the teachers, the nurses, the laborers, the small business owners who pour every ounce of themselves into their work. Now, look at their bank accounts. For the vast majority of them, hard work has produced exhaustion, not wealth. Something is fundamentally broken in this equation, and it is not the people. It is the belief itself. Bob Proctor made a critical distinction that most people never encounter. He separated effort from alignment. Effort is the physical and mental energy you pour into your work. Alignment is the degree to which your internal world, your beliefs, your emotions, your paradigma matches the outcome you are trying to create. Hard work without alignment is like pushing a boulder up a hill that never ends. You are moving, you are sweating, but you are not getting anywhere that matters. Consider teas. There are people on this planet who earn in 1 hour what others earn in an entire year. Are they working harder? Almost certainly not. They are working smarter. Yes, but that is not the full picture either. The deeper truth is that they are aligned. Their internal programming is in harmony with the frequency of wealth. They do not have to fight for it. They do not have to force it. They simply attract it. This is not poetic language designed to sound nice. This is a literal description of how energy works. Everything in this universe operates on vibration, on frequency. Money is energy. Your thoughts are energy. Your emotions are energy. When your energy matches the energy of wealth, wealth moves toward you. When it does not match, wealth moves away. It is that simple, and it is that profound. The myth of hard work is so dangerous because it keeps people trapped in a loop. They work harder. They do not see results, so they work even harder. Still no results, and eventually they conclude that wealth is simply not meant for them, that it is reserved for a lucky few. But luck has nothing to do with it. What looks like luck from the outside is actually the natural result of alignment on the inside. The person who appears to have gotten lucky simply shifted their internal state to a place where opportunities could reach them. They did not stumble into success. They became magnets for it. Bob Proctor would often say that you cannot think your way into a new behavior, but you can behave your way into a new way of thinking. This means the change does not start with action. It starts with awareness. It starts with recognizing that the effort you have been pouring into your life may be entirely misdirected. Not because you are doing the wrong things, but because you are carrying the wrong beliefs while you do them. Hard work is not the enemy. Hard work paired with the right internal state is extraordinarily powerful. But hard work alone, disconnected from belief, disconnected from alignment, will never produce the results you are desperate to see. It will only produce more of the same. So, if hard work is not the answer, what is? That brings us to the next chapter, and the first real layer of understanding why money avoids most people on this planet. The word paradigm may sound academic. It may sound like something reserved for psychology lectures or philosophy classrooms. But in the context of your financial life, it is the most important word you will ever learn. A paradigm is a system of beliefs, habits, and mental programs that operates below your conscious awareness. It is the filter through which you interpret every experience, make every decision, and evaluate every opportunity that comes your way. Think of it this way. Your conscious mind is the part of you that sets goals, makes plans, and decides what you want. It is the part of you that says, I want to be wealthy. I want financial freedom. I want to build something meaningful. That voice is real, and it has power. But it is not the most powerful voice in your head. Your paradigm is the voice underneath. It is the voice that whispers, who do you think you are? People like you do not get rich. Money is hard to come by. You are not smart enough, not talented enough, not deserving enough. You will never hear this voice speak in clear sentences. It does not announce itself. It simply shapes your reality quietly, invisibly, and and with a devastating consistency. Bob Proctor spent decades mapping the relationship between paradigms and results. What he found was that your paradigm determines your level of performance, the quality of your relationships, your health, and most critically for our purposes today, your financial situation. It is not a contributing factor, it is the primary factor. Everything else is secondary. Here's what makes paradigms so difficult to change. They were installed in you during childhood, mostly before the age of 7. During those early years, your mind had no ability to filter or question what was being placed into it. Whatever your parents believed about money, whatever your teachers said about wealth, whatever your community modeled, all of it was absorbed directly into your subconscious mind, without any critical evaluation. If your mother said, "We cannot afford that," every single time money came up in conversation, your young mind did not hear a comment about your family's current financial situation. It heard a truth about the nature of reality. It heard, there is never enough. And that belief was locked into place with an emotional anchor that keeps it alive. Decades later, the tragedy is that most adults walk through their entire lives making financial decisions based on programming that was installed when they were 5 years old. They have never examined it. They have never questioned it. They have simply accepted it as the way things are. But here is the beautiful and empowering truth. Paradigms can be changed. They are not permanent. They are not genetic. They are not destiny. They are mental software. And like any software, they can be updated. But the update does not happen through willpower alone. It does not happen through positive affirmations repeated in the mirror. It requires a specific, deliberate process that targets the subconscious mind directly. Bob Proctor identified several methods for shifting paradigms, and we will explore the most powerful of them in the chapters ahead. But first, it is important that you fully understand what your paradigm is doing to your relationship with money right now, in this very moment. Your paradigm is not just influencing your finances, it is actively controlling them. And until you change it, no amount of hustling, investing, or strategic planning will produce lasting wealth. The foundation must be repaired before the house can be built. Have you ever experienced this? Money comes in, and almost immediately, it disappears. You get a raise at work, and within weeks, your expenses have somehow expanded to match it. You receive an unexpected windfall, and before you know it, it is gone. A bonus, an inheritance, a settlement, gone. Not because you are irresponsible, gone because something inside you is pushing it away. This is one of the most frustrating and confusing experiences a person can have, and it happens to millions of people every single year. They bring money into their life, and their subconscious mind treats it like a foreign object. It does not belong in their world. It does not fit the image they carry of themselves. So the mind goes to work, quietly, efficiently, and finds a way to return things to what feels normal. Bob Proctor called this the thermostat effect. Just like a thermostat in your home is set to a specific temperature and will work to maintain that temperature no matter what the outside conditions are. Your subconscious mind is set to a specific financial level. If money comes in that pushes you above that level, your mind will create circumstances, expenses, emergencies, impulse purchases, bad investments, to bring you back down to where you feel comfortably. That is the key word. Your paradigm defines what is comfortable for you, and if comfort has always meant scarcity, then abundance feels threatening. It feels wrong. It feels like it does not belong to you. And your mind, whose primary job is to protect you from anything that feels threatening, will do everything in its power to eliminate it. This is why so many lottery winners end up broke within a few years of winning. It is not because they are stupid or reckless. It is because their internal thermostat was never adjusted. The money came in, but the belief system that governed their relationship with money remained exactly the same. The result was inevitable. Now, here is where this becomes deeply personal. Think about the highest income or the greatest financial comfort you have ever experienced. Think about how that felt. If it felt uncomfortable, if it felt too good to be true, if it felt like you did not deserve it, that discomfort was your paradigm at work. It was signaling to your subconscious that this level of prosperity was outside the acceptable range. Many people have been taught, either explicitly or implicitly, that wanting money is greedy, that wealthy people are corrupt. that there is something morally wrong with having more than you need. These beliefs do not just live in your conscious mind. They live in the deepest layers of your subconscious, and they create an invisible resistance to any wealth that tries to enter your life. Bob Proctor was very clear about this point. He said that money is not the problem, and money is not the solution. The problem is the story you are telling yourself about money. That story determines everything. How much comes in, how long it stays, and how freely it flows through your life. Changing that story is not about replacing one set of words with another. It is not about telling yourself you love money when deep down you believe money is evil. That kind of surface-level change will never penetrate the paradigm. Real change requires going deeper, much deeper than most people are willing to go. But those who do go deeper, those who are willing to do the uncomfortable work of examining and rewriting their deepest beliefs, they discover something extraordinary. They discover that money does not actually avoid them. They discover that they have been avoiding money. And once that realization lands, everything begins to change. If someone asked you right now, how do you feel about money? Most people would pause. Some would say they feel stressed. Some would say anxious. Some would say frustrated or hopeless. Very few would say they feel grateful, excited, or at peace. And that emotional response is not incidental. It is the engine that drives your entire financial reality. Bob Proctor taught that emotion is the accelerant of manifestation. Whatever you feel strongly about, you attract more of. This principle works in both directions. If you feel abundant and grateful, you attract more abundance. But if you feel desperate and fearful, you attract more scarcity. Emotion does not lie. It does not negotiate. It simply broadcasts your frequency to the universe, and the universe responds. Most people have a deeply negative, emotional relationship with money. They associate it with stress, with conflict, with disappointment, with shame. These emotions were not chosen consciously. They were absorbed from the environment during childhood and reinforced through years of lived experience. Every time money was a source of tension in the household, every time a parent expressed worry about finances, every time you were told that money does not grow on trees, your emotional programming around wealth was being shaped. Here is what makes this particularly insidious. You can set the most ambitious financial goals in the world. You can create detailed plans, follow up consistently, and take action every single day. But if the emotion underneath those actions is fear, doubt, or resentment, you are essentially stepping on the gas and the brake at the same time. The actions move you forward. The emotion pulls you backward. And in most cases, the emotion wins. Bob Proctor frequently shared the concept of emotional intelligence as it relates to wealth, not in the traditional sense of understanding others' feelings, but in the deeper sense of understanding your own emotional programming around money. He believed that the single most important step anyone could take toward financial transformation was to become aware of the feelings that arose every time money entered their consciousness. Notice what happens inside you when you see a large price tag. Notice what happens when someone mentions their salary or their net worth. Notice what happens when you check your bank account. Those reactions are not random. They are deeply programmed responses, and they are quietly shaping your financial destiny every single moment. The goal is not to suppress these emotions or to pretend they do not exist. The goal is to transform them, to move from a place of fear and scarcity to a place of gratitude and abundance. This shift does not happen overnight. It is not a one-time decision. It is a practice, a daily, conscious practice of choosing how you relate to money emotionally. One of the most powerful exercises Bob Proctor recommended was simply sitting with money, physically holding cash and practicing feeling grateful for it, not thinking about what you would do with it, not calculating how much you need, simply feeling thankful that it exists in your hand. This exercise, repeated consistently, begins to rewire the emotional circuitry around wealth. It sounds almost too simple, and that is exactly why most people dismiss it. They are looking for complex strategies and sophisticated systems. But the truth Bob Proctor spent his life teaching is that the simplest shifts often produce the most dramatic results, because they work at the level where change actually happens deep inside the emotional and subconscious mind. When you finally begin to feel good about money, genuinely good, not just intellectually positive, you will notice something remarkable. Money will begin to show up in your life in ways you never expected. Not because the world changed, because you did. There is a concept that most people have never seriously considered, and it is responsible for more financial limitation than any economic factor, any market condition, or any external circumstance ever could. That concept is self-image. It is the picture you hold of yourself, not the picture the world sees, but the one that lives in the deepest chambers of your own mind. And it is the invisible boundary that determines exactly how much wealth you believe you are capable of having. Self-image is not vanity. It is not about how you look in the mirror or how confident you appear to others. It is about the internal story you carry regarding who you are, what you deserve, and what is possible for you. And this story was written long before you had any say in it. Bob Proctor was emphatic on this point. He would tell his audiences, you will never earn more than your self-image allows. You will never attract more than your self-image permits. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because your self-image acts as a cap. It sets the ceiling on your potential, and no amount of external effort can push you past it without first raising that ceiling from within. Think about the wealthiest person you have ever met or seen on television. Now think about how they carry themselves. There is a confidence there. Not arrogance, but a deep, settled certainty that they belong in the spaces they occupy. That certainty is not the result of their wealth. It is the cause of it. Their self-image was expanded first, and the wealth followed. Now think about your own self-image as it relates to money. If someone told you tomorrow that you had been selected to earn 5 times your current income, what would your gut reaction be? For most people, that reaction would not be excitement. It would be doubt. It would be, there must be a catch. I do not deserve that. I am not the kind of person things like that happen to. That gut reaction is your self-image speaking, and it is louder than any conscious goal you have ever set. The painful truth is that many people sabotage their own success, not because they lack ability, but because success would contradict the story they carry about themselves. If you have spent your entire life believing you are someone who struggles financially, then prosperity feels foreign. It feels like it belongs to someone else, and your mind will reject it to protect the coherence of your self-image. Bob Proctor taught that changing your self-image is the single most transformative thing you can do for your financial life. But he was also clear that this change cannot be forced. You cannot simply decide to see yourself differently and expect the shift to be immediate. It requires repetition, patience, and a willingness to sit in discomfort as the old image dissolves and a new one takes its place. One of the most effective methods Bob recommended was visualization, but not the casual, vague kind that most people practice. It meant deep, emotionally charged, highly specific visualization performed with complete conviction. Not imagining what wealth looks like, feeling what wealth feels like, inhabiting the emotional state of the person you are becoming, not the person you currently are. When this practice is done correctly and consistently, it begins to shift the self-image at the subconscious level. The mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. So when you consistently imagine yourself as someone who has wealth, who deserves wealth, who is comfortable with wealth, your subconscious begins to accept that as your new identity. And once your self-image expands to include prosperity as a natural part of who you are, the external results follow with an almost shocking speed. Not someday, not eventually. The universe responds to the signal your new self-image is broadcasting, and it responds fast. Everything we have discussed up to this point has been about diagnosis. We have identified the paradigm. We have exposed the emotional programming. We have examined the self. Now comes the part that most people are hungry for. The prescription. How do you actually change? How do you rewrite programming that has been running inside your mind for decades? This is where Bob Proctor's teachings become genuinely life-altering. The first and most critical step is awareness. You cannot change what you cannot see. Before any technique or practice can work, you must first develop the ability to observe your own thoughts and beliefs in real time. This sounds simple, but it is one of the hardest things a human being can do. We are so identified with our thoughts that we mistake them for reality. Separating yourself from your thoughts, even slightly, is the beginning of everything. Bob Proctor recommended a practice he called conscious observation. Throughout the day, pause and ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? What am I feeling? Is this thought serving me or limiting me? This is not about judging your thoughts as good or bad. It is about seeing them clearly for the first time. Most people go their entire lives without ever truly observing their own mental activity. That changes here. The second step is repetition. Once you have identified the beliefs that are limiting you, the ones that say you do not deserve wealth, that money is evil, that you are not capable, you must begin to consciously replace them. Not once, not a few times, hundreds of times, thousands of times. Because the subconscious mind responds to repetition the way a muscle responds to exercise. It strengthens with consistent use. This is where affirmations come back into play, but with a crucial difference from how most people use them. Bob Proctor did not teach people to simply repeat positive statements and hope for the best. He taught people to combine the repetition with emotion. You must feel the new belief as you repeat it. You must inhabit it. You must allow yourself to experience the emotional state that the new belief would naturally produce. Without that emotional component, repetition is just noise. The third step is acting in accordance with your new belief before you see any external evidence. This is where most people break down. They want proof first. They want to see the money before they believe it is coming. But that is not how paradigm shifts work. The belief must come first. The evidence follows. Acting as if, not pretending, but genuinely orienting your life around the assumption that wealth is your birthright, is one of the most powerful catalysts for change that exists. Bob Proctor often spoke about what he called the shift in awareness. He described it as a moment, sometimes sudden, sometimes gradual, when a person stops seeing themselves as someone chasing wealth and begins seeing themselves as someone who naturally has it. That shift is not intellectual, it is felt. It is experienced at the deepest level of being. Surrounding yourself with people who embody the beliefs you are trying to adopt is another critical element. Bob emphasized, your environment shapes your paradigm whether you want it to or not. If you are surrounded by people who believe in scarcity, their energy will constantly reinforce your own limiting beliefs. Seek out people who think abundantly. Study them. Spend time with them. Let their frequency influence yours. Finally, patience is not optional. Paradigm shifts do not happen in a single afternoon. They happen over days, weeks, and sometimes months of consistent, intentional practice. Bob Proctor himself went through a long and sometimes frustrating process before his own paradigm shifted permanently. He did not give up. He trusted the process, and the process delivered. The tools are not complicated. They are deceptively simple, but simplicity does not mean easy. It means the work is internal, and internal work requires a level of honesty and commitment that most people are not prepared for. Those who are prepared will find that these principles deliver exactly what they promise. We have arrived at the final and perhaps most profound piece of this entire teaching. It is the idea that money is not what most people think it is. Money is not paper. Money is not numbers in a bank account. Money is not a reward for labor performed or a punishment withheld for effort not given. Money is energy. Pure, flowing, responsive energy. And understanding this at a fundamental level is what separates those who struggle with wealth from those who seem to have an effortless relationship with it. Bob Proctor grounded this concept in universal law, specifically the law of vibration, which states that everything in the universe is in a constant state of vibration. Thoughts vibrate emotions. Vibrate. People vibrate. And money vibrates. When your vibration matches the vibration of money, when your energy is in harmony with abundance, money flows toward you naturally. When it does not match, money flows away just as naturally. This is why two people can follow the exact same financial strategy and get completely opposite results. It is not the strategy that determines the outcome. It is the energy the person brings to the strategy. A plan executed with fear and desperation will produce fear and desperation. The same plan executed with confidence and gratitude will produce abundance. The energy is everything. Most people treat money as something to be earned, something to be chased, something to be hoarded once obtained. Bob Proctor taught the exact opposite. He taught that money is meant to flow. It is meant to move through your life like water moves through a river, constantly, freely, and without resistance. When you grip money tightly, when you hold on to it, out of fear, you actually slow the flow. You create a blockage, and the universe, in response to that blockage, sends less. Generosity, in this context, is not just a moral virtue. It is a strategic, energetic move. When you give freely, genuinely freely, without expectation of return, you are broadcasting a signal that says, abundance is my natural state. There is more than enough for everyone, including me. And the universe, which responds to signals with perfect precision, sends more abundance rushing toward you. Bob Proctor shared countless stories of people who transformed their financial lives not by earning more, but by shifting their relationship with money from one of scarcity and fear to one of flow and gratitude. A woman who gave away money she could barely afford to spare and watched her income triple within months. A man who stopped checking his bank account obsessively and began trusting that what he needed would always arrive. And it did, consistently and reliably. These are not coincidences. They are demonstrations of universal law in action. The universe does not reward good behavior in the traditional sense. It responds to energy. It responds to vibration. And when your energy says, I am open to abundance, I welcome it, I am worthy of it, the universe has no choice but to comply. The final shift. The deepest and most transformative shift you can make is to stop seeing money as something separate from you. It is not out there, waiting to be found or earned or captured. It is a frequency, and you are capable of tuning into that frequency right now, in this very moment, simply by changing how you think, how you feel, and how you see yourself in relation to wealth. Bob Proctor lived this truth every single day of his life. He did not just teach it, he embodied it. He understood that wealth was not a destination to arrive at, but a state of being to inhabit. And he spent decades helping others understand that this state is available to every single person on this planet, regardless of where they are starting from. The real reason money avoids most people is not external. It is not economic. It is not circumstantial. It is internal. It lives in the beliefs, the emotions, the self-image, and the energy that each person carries. Change those things. Truly change them at the deepest level. And money will not avoid you anymore. It will find you. It will flow to you. And it will stay. Let us bring this back to where we started. That man working 60 hours a week for 20 years with nothing to show for it. His situation is not hopeless. It never was. The only thing that needed to change was never his schedule, his job, or his strategy. It was his paradigm. It was the invisible operating system running inside his mind that was silently repelling every opportunity for wealth that came anywhere near his life. Bob Proctor spent over 50 years teaching the world that this paradigm is not fixed. It is not permanent. It is software that can be rewritten, and every single person watching this video right now has the power to rewrite it. Starting today, starting right now, in this very moment. The tools are not complicated. The path is not secret. It simply requires awareness, repetition, and an unwavering commitment to seeing yourself differently than you have ever seen yourself before. That is the real reason money avoids most people, and that is the exact door through which your financial transformation begins. If this video has shifted something inside you, even slightly, then it has done its job. But a shift in awareness is only the beginning. The real work starts when you close this video and carry these ideas into your daily life. Practiced conscious observation. Replace limiting beliefs with intention and emotion. Act in accordance with your new identity before you see the evidence. Give freely. Trust the process. And above all, be patient with yourself. You are not undoing a few bad habits. You are undoing decades of unconscious programming. That takes time. But every single step you take in the right direction, and the results you have been dreaming about, will come not as a reward, but as an inevitable consequence of who you are becoming. Bob Proctor believed, with every fiber of his being, that every human being on this planet deserves abundance. Not some of them, all of them. And he believed that the only thing standing between any person and that abundance was their own willingness to change. If you are willing, the universe is ready. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video with someone who needs it. And remember, the transformation you are looking for has already begun.